Musical instruments. It's a shaker. Well, a lot of the time we're looking at stuff that lets you listen to music. Well, mate, today we're playing with something that lets you make music. My study is as a jazz musician. I've got first class honors in jazz philosophy, and that's not a meme, that's my life. And a lot of my peers, I remember them hating electronic music. They thought it was just kind of cheap and easy. Yeah, I mean, I loved electronic music, and my first YouTube channel was actually remixing The Simpsons. So I've grown a real appreciation for just how hard it is to come up with cool sounds. And electronic music didn't just happen, like it's evolved over time. Which brings us onto the company we're actually talking about, which is Yamaha, who are freaks. But you probably know them for like their high-performance racing bikes. Well, I know them for basically inventing the modern drum kit. Tech enthusiasts in the 90s would know them for their MIDI modules. Classical pianists know them for their amazing grand pianos. And they had a big part to play in synthesizer development. Let me just plunk this down. This looks like a toy? It is not a toy. So the synthesizer goes back to like RCA and Moog. But in 1976, Yamaha came out with the CS80. And it was top of the line at the time. And you've probably heard it because it was like the sole instrument for like the 1980s Doctor Who theme. ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, used one. There's a downside to the CS80 though. They weigh about 100 kilograms. Yeah, and have a look inside. That's called a nightmare. And they were so unbelievably fragile. If you set it on its side so you could transport it, it won't be in tune anymore. If the weather's too hot, it won't be in tune anymore. Too cold, won't be in tune anymore. It'll just throw it out of whack. It's an analog synthesizer. Oh, and they cost about $10,000 if you can find one, because there's only meant to be less than 800 ever made. But it's cool, because that's what this guy's about, mate. The Yamaha CS Reface. Instead of a 100-kilogram wilting bird that basically breaks if you move it, mate, they've compacted it down into a nugget that runs on 6. So as I said, this isn't a toy keyboard. This is a synthesizer. Like, you know, there's no buttons. No, there's no one to hold your hand for this. This thing is incredibly difficult to use. All right, mate, I think she's working. Sorry if the volumes are a bit whack, mate. I'm just doing me best. I'm sure you're having a look across all his controls here and just going... And I feel ya. I suck at keyboards and doing this sort of stuff. I have some experience, but it doesn't matter because you can hear what it's doing. My favorite place to start is at type. So this is the kind of wave pattern. So I believe this is sawtooth. Square wave, and then... Big deal, you all say collectively as you're hitting unsubscribe. But that's like just the beginning. But let's play with this mod thing. Gosh, I suck at keyboards. Oh no, now we're adding resonance. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, it's getting worse! You can make some horrible noise with this thing. I'm just gonna keep it on old mate square wave here. It sounds like a really old computer or an NES. Low frequency oscillation. So if I set it to pitch and depth, meaning it's gonna sweep like a bigger area. So I set it up. It's the future! But then you speed up how quickly it does it and you get this. You can play a chord like that. Let me just explain a couple of things, because I know a lot of you aren't musicians. There's only 12 notes in music, guys. Look, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then it's back to C. And these 12 notes repeat over and over and over again. You notice a lot of music all kind of sounds the same? There's only 12 notes. Look, it's the note C. You can see it next to the 2 black notes down here. Look, here's C again. Here's C again. They're called octaves. It's the same note, but double the frequency. And that's what this is, octave. So even though the keyboard's only this big, you can make it like lower. Yeah, that's where I like to be. Bassland. Or you can have a headache. This is a looper. Looping's really hard. It is really difficult to get a nice clean loop. You know, it's where it's like playing the same thing underneath for you and you play it in. I don't need to touch that. Portamento, that sounds like something from Olive Garden. This was actually a really amazing thing about the original CS80 is that you could play more than one note at a time. I know that sounds like a pathetic standard, but yeah, like a lot of like synthesizers are only one note at a time. So if I set it to mono, it only plays one note at a time. Even though I hold the other ones, they do nothing. But poly... But check this out, if you jump out of that, you can set it so it kind of scoops to the next note. So it's still only monophonic instead of... You can have... So now you can make it sound really... Don't you want that in your life? This is the pitch bend, yeah? Like, the synthesizer really is its own instrument. Like, you could hand this to a classical pianist and they'll be able to play something for you, but they're not going to get a good sound out of it. Like, all the proper synth players that I've ever played with, a lot of the time, they've got one hand curled over the pitch bend and they're just wailing the pitch bend like a guitar is bending all the notes. You're probably thinking, sure, there's a more ergonomic way to get that feature if there are people who just like to pitch bend and play single notes on a synthesizer, and it's called a keytar. Now they're even cooler, right? They're a synthesizer with a whammy. Now I believe these are abbreviations. That's attack, so like how sharp it sounds at the top. So you'd have like gentle swells. So if you thought playing with the LFO was fun, now we're up to effects. Delays like echo. It's like Hear that little repeat in the background? That's the delay, baby. We're gonna make it louder. Oh, now it's shuffling. No, now it's too much. No, now I hate it. I've ruined it. Shut up. That's the unforgiving thing about this, is that they're very, very slight adjustments. So if you bump it, it's gone. That cool sound that you had, gone. Whereas like digital ones, like you can have them set perfectly and then you can save it and lock it in. Whereas this is old school style, man. Like the cat jumps onto this and climbs all over it, you've lost it. Phaser. Oh, now we're getting Doctor Who sounding. It's not a toy, what a monster. It sounds like a Lego engine that can run. That's literally the lowest note it can play. That's the lowest note with the pitch bend. Oh man, by today's standards, this is a really simple synth, and it's still just, like, even if you don't know what you're doing, it's just fun to make sounds. Now, I know a whole bunch is going, oh man, you suck. Like, how are we ever going to hear this properly, mate? Well, luckily, Yamaha have on their site a bunch of SoundCloud tracks showing what you could do with these. Like, you record a track, then change the sound and record again, and you overdub and layer it up, mate. And so I hope they don't mind if I play, like, 30 seconds of this. Come on, YouTube, be cool, mate. Now look, I know what I've done is, even if you guys aren't into making music, just playing with something that makes these kind of noises is really, really fun. And I'm sure you'd like to try one for like 15 minutes, get bored and put it away. Well, amazingly, there's a good chance you already own a synthesizer. It's called an iPhone. Stinking GarageBand, mate. It's the best free app on the planet. Sorry, it's not sounding very good. I got a janky cable. Like, all the synths you could want. And look, you can just set it to play only correct notes, minor blues. There's so many settings. This is free. And like, you can add heaps of crap into this. Like, it's a great audio recorder. Like, all my audio is recorded into an iPad, into GarageBand with the voice preset. You could create entire songs in this thing. My first Dankmas tracks were made on this on an iPad. So if you got a Mac made in the last 15 years, or an iPhone or an iPad, the iPad's the best one, if you ask me. You've already got a synthesizer you can play with. Well, I'm sorry if I bored the pants out of you. This is a side of my life that I wanted to share, and it's just, hopefully there's an appreciation for whenever you hear some electronic music, it doesn't matter what decade, and you hear this sound that's like, oh, that sounds awesome. Just know, it wasn't easy, there are no freebies, maybe you accidentally bump things into the right thing and it sounds amazing, but that's very, very rare. Yeah, electronic music is an absolute craft, and I love that they've been able to miniaturize this kind of thing. Man, this is just so much fun to play with. They've been making these since 2015. You might be able to find one of these used. And I'm sorry for boring you. Well, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Huge thanks to my patrons, especially these stinky names right here, because, mate, $1 a month, I do extra videos. There are extra videos on Garbage Time, which is my car thing, and my drum thing, which is my drum thing, which I swear I'm making videos for. But, like, you want extra dank pods? Well, it seems this week's theme is Yamaha musical goodness, and, yeah, I want to talk about this. This is the EG06. Basically, Dank Pods has been running out of one of these this whole time. Like, I have 2 of these for good reason. I'm going to tell you about it. So, thanks so much, and mate, I'll see you all next time.
Frank, can't you see that you're ruining everything? You're ruining everything. Look at the couch, Frank. Stop licking it. Frank, just listen to me.